Well, that's funny. I don't know why there was not a countdown made anymore, as it has been throughout the years past, but okay.
Well,
Um,
this show is going to be a countdown, so we didn't need to do both. That would be a little redundant. What's up, Dub?
well, good evening. How art thou?
Should we just keep it in Shakespearean the whole episode? Probably not, right? Doing
No.
well. Had a little bit of a thunderstorm here. Little day off from little guy practice, football practice. So really dove into the statistics that are just one Google sheet. Um, as easy as it was to list names that were great at wide receiver this year, I don't know how hard you've been trying yet, Dub, but listing 7 running backs, it's a lot. It's ish.
Well, I mean, it really is quite the cry from what we had a couple of years ago when it was the uh, the year of the running back. Well, Mizzle, I'm getting ready for work because I'll be spending most of this show on the road, so you'll hardly see my face. But good evening to you, and hello, Mr. Mel Carey, the hardest working man in sports. How are you? So we are going to try to attempt to see who was the top 7 running backs, even though 2025 was mainly pass happy, pass happy, pass happy, pass happy, as we have Baby Hammond on the screen, and I'm
I
still
can't hear
diving
you.
for.
He's saying, look at him. He's like, I can't hear you. Say it
Oh
louder
yes,
in the back. Say it with your chest.
Baby Hammond.
That's Hudson. So, um,
Something like that, Mizzle. Something like that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. This is a podcast, so it's instead of this time just being fully locked in and watching our facial features, have this on in the background and do a chore for the wife or the whoever, and get some brownie points this week. Yeah.
Or
So
in some
talking about the
cases,
running
getting ready
backs, I
for.
mean, let's kind of put it into perspective real quick, because Dub, you said that the league was pass happy, and I think that would be a relatively fair assessment. But I'll say that there were some pretty high totals for running rushing yard totals this year. The problem is that the top, I believe it's at least 3 guys. It could be up to 4 guys. They all played quarterback. So what you're seeing in the A7FL is the shift into the 7-on-7, more of a spread style offense where the main running threat is the dual threat quarterback. And
Correct.
at the top of our list, and I'm just gonna give some of the stats now. There are 2 guys with over 500 yards in the 6 and 10 games respectively. Uh, Problem is, that's David Tender and Sterry Codrington with 543 and 529 respectively. It's not until the fourth and fifth totals, and then obviously sixth, that we get a player that even plays the running back position that made the leaderboard in the league based on the statistics we have. So I guess to start out, I would kind of let's start Vegas centric because I think that's where you could probably give us the most, and then you got to go, Dub. But other than the obvious, and you know everybody needs to get around on public transportation out there, so we know what that name is. But other than the obvious mode of transportation out there in Vegas, what are some of the other running backs that even started? Let's even start this way. What are the running backs that we could say were the starters for their teams?
Well, I know on sick there was always a revolving door running back, but when he was utilized in the running game, Devin Houston ran very tough, very positive, very physical running back, and also had very deceptive speed. Obviously, you have the 1-2 punch with the stealth in big Sean Russell and cool case Justin Shepard actually getting a chance to show his skills at the running back position. That became a very big dual threat back system that the Stealth had, which turned into a very solid run game for the Stealth during the 2025 season. At times, when he was able to run to the outside, Marlon Thomas from the gold was effective. But of course, when you have no blocking up front, you can't run in between the tackles. But on outside runs, he was very effective. Interesting to see who they will go back to uh, when 2026 rolls around. For the Hunters, it was more by committee, but I really think that
Yeah,
the
so it was
run game. I
nobody
mean,
stood out. Yeah.
yeah, because I mean, obviously, with other than the regional transportation, you did have Mr. Washington Juice, you did have Mr. Carter. So I mean, there's always dual threats in the run game. They kind of sprinkled JJ Pugh, who normally would play defense. They sprinkled him in the run game also. But I mean, it's
Well, and
just
those guys, I've seen those guys pop on a couple plays here and there, but as far as consistently throughout the 2025 season, at least with the the statistics that we have, which we put next to with a little asterisk because there are games that obviously are missing. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think obviously when we finally kind of like start to drill down the list, Dub, I think we're gonna have to go based on you know some of the other things because as much as we respect Juice and Devontae Carter, the likelihood of them getting over what RTC's yardage output was, which was about 400, the likelihood of them even having that is very very minuscule, at least in an official capacity. I know that there
it's
were games out there that needed better stats taken, but I think the feeling serves me correct, even if the statistics eventually don't prove out that way. That I think not only just in Vegas, because I'm going to go over some of the other divisions, but I think league wide it was a little bit of a down year for the running back position. So to kind of shift over to the East Coast, but making a stop midway, kind of we'll say we're getting a connecting flight from Ohio. I can't even tell you the guy that really stood out for me for the QC Crush. Now, um, and as far as the octane goes, I don't remember anybody specific. But and the problem I think is that we didn't see them enough for it to be memorable. But I'll be honest, if there was a guy that was like super memorable, if we saw Seth Chambers getting the ball consistently, I'm sure we would remember who he was. Then we go to the Baltimore division, and although the Heathens have a guy that I like in Marty Nelson, 2D Apartments, who's been mentioned on lists in the past. He just didn't consistently have any kind of production that is palpable. So even though I'll mention his name because of his talent, I didn't see anything from the Heathens. As far as the Watchmen, they're one of those by committee teams, and we got to see Dirty Dan, and he kind of put up a couple of plays that were impressive. But again, consistency. They shared the ball with a bunch of guys, and then you drive up into the Northeast Division, um, right up to New Jersey. Even a team like the U, I couldn't even tell you the back on the U, which has a lot of good backs that stood out and made a difference consistently. So for me, I think as we start listing names that do deserve credit, I think that there's the chance to kind of reflect on just the overall evolution of what it means to be a runner, a ball carrier. Pause, I guess, in the A7FL.
but at the same time, want to give a certain guy his flowers because I believe he did announce that he is hanging up the cleats, and that is the longtime staple of the running game for the Trenton BIC, the defending champions of our league, is one Courage Mosey, who of course got to get one more Hulk smash touchdown spike in the championship game of there in Jackson, New Jersey. But definitely, a lot of times for a lot of years, the heart and soul of the BIC run game goes out of champion, just like Big Mo does. Certainly want to give Big Courage his flowers. Certainly didn't have the statistics per se, but for a long time, Big Courage was a key cog in the Trenton BIC run game, helping the BIC become three-time champions in the league, and certainly want to give him his flowers in case this really is the last time he will put on the colors of the Trenton BIC.
Yeah, Courage Mosey. I had the privilege to play with Courage for two years. This is way back when. Um, and I'll tell you what, I've had a lot of running backs in the A7FL. This year's running back, I'm actually excited to talk about. But there was not a person that I ever shared a backfield with at that position that could change the game as easily and as consistently as Courage Mosey does. And it's something that I talk about to my sons who play quarterback, right? And my one son is super fast, way faster than me. My other son's similar to my speed. But the one thing that I talk about is there's effective plays, but there's also attitude plays. And when you're a player carrying the ball and you level the tackler, everybody on the field, on the sideline, anybody wearing your colors gets that extra bit of motivation knowing that they can do what it takes to win a football game. And when you have a
Especially
guy
the O
like
line,
and
especially the offensive line.
yeah, O line loves it, and especially if it's like a quarterback trucking somebody. But even
Yes,
when it is the running back, right? Even when it is the running back, you play with courage, and he does the things that you see him do in the ferocious way that he did them. LJ actually, I don't think that I could get away with this, but LJ actually started calling him Django Unchained. And I don't know if he embodies the character from the movie, but just the sound of those words that's kind of the unleashing of a monster that it was to just give Courage the ball and get out of his way. And BIC is definitely going to miss that. Now, obviously, at where he's at in his career, he's definitely earned the opportunity and the right to take a little bit of a break this spring. But it was good to see him go out as a champion. And it wasn't like he was just some bench guy hanger on. I mean, his touchdown, releasing from the tight end position, kind of lost in the shuffle. That was one of the bigger plays of the championship game. And, anytime he has the ball in his hands, he's a threat. And to hear him, hanging him up, it kind of coincides with kind of the downer vibe that we have about the running back position, I guess. But for a guy that I shared the field with and played against a ton of times, I think he'll go down in history as the greatest running back in the history of the A7 today. Right? Maybe in 4 more years we might have a different conversation, but today RTC hasn't done enough yet to be number one in my book yet. But cheers to Courage on a great career, and I don't know, wear that goat mask in your home.
well, here's the one thing I will say. Um, I mean, when he did make the touchdown play, that pretty much, in a sense, the BIC never looked back after that particular score. Just seeing how the bench, or should I say the sideline, not the bench, because this is not baseball, this is football, but the sideline of the BIC and just their outpouring of emotion and celebration when that happened, just goes to show you of how much he really was loved by his teammates. And I mean, that's a feeling that once you decide to hang up, that's a feeling that you'll never get back, and you have the memories and the film and the wherewithal to just hold on and reminisce uh, when you need to reminisce. But certainly, one of the pillars of the Trenton BIC, especially in the run game, the great Courage Mosey, deciding to call it a career and definitely wanted to pay homage and give him his just due.
Yeah, and this is a show to do it. Honestly, I honestly I forgot I've been busy, but not only was he a pillar of BIC, Dub, his highlights and his running style are the foundational pieces that helped build the A7 to a nationwide brand as well. So he'll be missed. We'll continue to talk about him. I'm sure there'll be those ferocious trucks in some highlight sizzle reel that people will ask, who's that guy? be like, oh, you don't know about courage.
Well, that's why the archives are there to watch and enjoy and to make people understand of where the A7FL has come from its town beef humble beginnings to where it is now. And certainly, courage played a big part in that for certain.
Yeah, man. And now BIC won't have to worry until midway through the second quarter if he's going to show up. They'll just know that he won't, so they won't be looking over the shoulder waiting for him to show up. Oh, courage, we'll miss you. Um, yeah, that's. I mean, that's this. This is a downer episode. Let's change the vibe. So I think the best way to start is to just go with a guy that I think deserves to be on this list. Dub, you already mentioned his name, and last year he made this list at a different position, number 7. And honestly, like we're just this is a full like freestyle rap version of the pod. We have nothing written down, so let's just see what happens, Dub. And if you got to leave, then it is what it is. But number 7, you know what I'm talking about, right?
I'm guessing you're talking about Mr. Shepard from the Stealth.
Absolutely. We're talking about a guy that made this list last year way higher at the cornerback position. And you guys sold me on this idea a couple weeks ago. And you can kind of tell that, Justin Shepard in his life has played the running back position. He doesn't really look like a corner. You know what I'm saying? And when you watch him play the running back position, you can see that the physicality, the agility, the balance,
Low
and,
pad
and and
level,
then the
and
explosiveness, obviously that he had at corner, he easily translates that to the running back position. And for a team like the Stealth that I think was pretty close to having good quarterback play, but just missed it a little bit. I think the reason that they were better than the other teams was that they were able to find some way to kind of earn their offense and build an identity on that side of the ball. And although, to be clear, I think the Gold and the Hunters have a lot more to do um, to catch the Stealth. The Stealth, they were kind of slotted to, except for in the one guy's opinion who lost the bet to Scott. Um, but but they were kind of slotted to be that middle tier team anyway. But for him to find a new place and a new position and still kind of make his mark in the A7FL, I think he deserves the credit. And like we said, pretty thin as far as options go. So I think he's a good guy to slide in there at number 7.
well, I think the one thing that really impressed me not only was his low pad level, but his vision and how he was effective running in between the tackles and was not afraid to get the tough yardage in tough yardage situations, and just again showing off his versatility. To which I think a lot of people found it shocking that he was in the backfield, but I mean when he was on sick kind of sprinkled him in there at times at the running back position, and you saw like, oh, wait a minute now, this could be a dual threat situation if they utilize him right. And then he comes to the Stealth, and like I said, him and Big Russell just became a dynamic 1-2 tandem. Certainly, I mean we're talking about running back tandems. I mean they're certainly up there along with the Insomniacs with the three-headed monster that they have. But I mean Russell and Shep definitely left you battered and bruised, especially with the physical style that both those gentlemen ran with very vigorously.
Yeah, and I don't know where he ended up as far as the yard share. What would you say they were like 50-50 yardage wise, or Shep had more yards because he's more of the bigger play threat?
I probably would say it might be a slight 2-1 favor in favor of Shep, but I mean
Yeah, that's
don't.
what that's kind of what my sense was, and why I mentioned him and didn't like kind of list them as a tandem. Um, because it's good to have the two different styles of back, but to me, it felt like in the film that I watched that Shep was the one who was the bigger threat and the more consistent guy that they asked to be that guy. So I think sliding him in the number seven is a good starting point for us because I really only see Dub on the stat list that the solid 1, 2, and 3. So we're gonna have to figure out 6, 5, and 4. Um, what I think we should do is if you got another guy out in Vegas, maybe we go in the sick with it route. Maybe we go the second guy on the Insomniacs route. But for number 6, who would be the guy that's from the Vegas division that deserves credit, maybe even more so than Shep, but not as much as the number 1 Vegas guy?
Well, I mean, if you want to flip and put Shep at 6 and put Russell at 7, I have no problem with that because I mean, I really think Russell really should get some credit and get on this list because again, just his physicality and the way he ran and the way he was not afraid to go looking for contact, kind of like how Devontae Carter does it. Although obviously we're talking about just speed, I think Devontae is more faster of the two than Big Sean Russell.
Well, yeah,
But
and what I want to do is kind of focus on the impact they had this season. So since you're the expert, I'll put it to you this way. If obviously we're talking about RTC was the number 1 running back in the division, who would you think be the number 2 back in the division? Do you think it would be Shep?
I mean, if we're talking about men that were consistently playing and in their innocence on every down, you would have to put him in there. And
All right,
again,
so
that
let's then
and again,
let's
that's no disrespect to the other gentleman, but I mean, it's like okay,
well let's slide him at least to 6. Maybe this is the Shep show, and he's just sliding all the way up. So who would you say is then the better back of the two, or of the three? Juice, Devontae, or Roussard? What's his last name?
Russell.
Russell. I tried to make it too French. Um,
I mean, if we're just talking
if
about just natural God given ability,
No, we're talking about this year because listen, all those guys are great, and that's not for us to decide. Their
if we're
coaching staff can decide.
if
But
we're talking about this season, then
yep,
I would put in Russell because Russell was there all season long. I don't think he missed a game because again, as I say all the time, your best ability is availability, and
but do you think he had more production than Juice and Devontae Carter?
I'll say maybe a little bit more production than Devontae. Juice, you can say it's 50-50 because obviously Juice can obviously throw the ball, catch the ball in the backfield. Really didn't see Russell utilized in the screen game. The only thing about Devontae is Devontae would get a couple of plays in, and a lot of times he wouldn't get back in the game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, that's the thing. They had. He's the third guy that goes in, so obviously he's not going to have the touches.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. How about we put the your choice at 7, and then we go 6, because I think 5 and 4 might be on the same team as well.
But I also want to give your guy some credit, your teammate.
Yeah, well, if you look statistically, he's up at least 2 or 3. Now he'll probably slide down to 3, but when you look at the rushing yards in 6 games, he's only like 30 yards less than the league leader, who was registered for 10 games, by the way. And we'll talk about him, I think, in a little bit. But I think maybe we go number 7, Russell,
Number 7,
and then
Sean
number
Russell.
from, and then number.
6.
Well, or we could just do them as tandems.
We could do that too.
Number 7. Well, then what team would be beneath the stealth?
That's a good
Hmm.
question. That
Because
is a
here's the thing. Here's the thing. One of the teams that I thought ran the ball very well, but they used a stable, was the East Orange Renegades. And
correct.
when they went with Smalls, he was like a here and there guy because they did save him to use him for big plays on offense, and he was a starter and every down player on defense. They also had Mo Franklin, Big Mo, and Seth Batson that got carries and got statistics that would kind of lead them here. And then obviously their quarterback serve was third in the league in rushing. So that's a team that I think if we were to do the running back show as backfields or units, they would make it. But in a similar way, I don't know if we pick one of those guys that stands out. I think Smalls is going to end up being on our athletes list, so I don't necessarily want to put him at the running back list. And Big Mo, he had two good games against BIC, but in the other games he wasn't as big of a factor, and he always is limited in the amount of total carries that he gets. So I don't know. If we do teams, then we're just basically going like who had the best running game, and that includes offensive line. So that doesn't necessarily feature the running backs. So let's just keep it this way. We'll go with number 7, Russell.
Yes.
I think we can go number 6, a different guy, and then let's go number 5. We'll go to Shepard. So if we're gonna go Russell number 7. I think number 6, I'm going to throw in there a guy um, from the Watchmen. This is more of a legacy pick, and I'm just going to say it outright. But when we're talking,
There's nothing wrong with that.
yeah, and listen, like I said, this is we're literally freestyle rapping this episode. So we just had a guy that we said was number 7, and we're pushing him up to 5. But for number 6, I'm going to put up Angelo Lewis Jr., also known as Snags Sosa. Now, statistically, I bet you he's not even the best running back on the Watchmen. But there's so much that Snags brings to a football team that is outside of the stat sheet, and his speed and his dynamic personality. In a year that we're losing courage, I'm gonna say that the 3 or 4 touchdowns that I saw him get and the couple of big plays that are missing from the stat sheet that we saw him make against the Heathens and the DC Buzz in person. I'm gonna have to give my guy, and listen, call me a homer, even though if you were if you thought that since this is a Baltimore guy that Baltimore guys hate me. Some of them do, but they really don't. So, like, I don't even know what this is. But my guy Snags is definitely going to make this list at number 6. And the Watchmen, as a team, they did run the ball well. And Dirty Dan, their rookie, was a big part of that. But for me, Snags is the guy that kind of does more than just get the ball. He leads the team, sets the tone, and is the spark plug when that team needs him. Number 6, Angelo
Very,
Lewis.
very well said.
All right, yeah. So I sold it to you. I don't know. I don't even know if I believe it myself. I'm gonna type in the comments when I watch this later. I don't believe you, and it'll be Corey Hammond saying that's Corey Hammond. No, I'm just joking. No, but seriously, I think if we're talking about a season in which running backs, you know, the the top 3 running backs are 400, 400, high 300s respectively. That's where we're at right now, right? In a season where Kason Campbell had over 1,000 receiving yards and Sterry Codrington and David Tender led the league in rushing, the running back position is definitely going to be able to include a guy that went to the U, came back to the Watchmen, and brought his special style and flair to the backfield for the Watchmen. And I think I'm pretty sure they were glad to have him back. It was good to see him back. But moving on, number 5. We already talked about him.
But yes, that is Justin Cool Case Shepherd of the Silver State Stealth, who actually people forget he actually started the season on the Hunters,
Yep.
then went
Yeah, I
to the
remember that.
Stealth, and then obviously became a huge key cog in the run game. Of course, being the great tandem with Big Sean Russell, and helped the Stealth um, get to the playoffs and become the third best team in the Nevada division. I mean, I'm anxious to see how they grow here. Again, I still think the one thing that the stealth is missing is a full time dynamic quarterback. If they can get that, who knows what the stealth can be in 2026. So I'm very interested to see of who is going to be the consistent signal caller for the Silver State Stealth going into 2026.
Yeah, I think that'll be a fun episode too. Is when we go over the quarterbacks. Um, and honestly, let's see if Shepard even, if he stays at that position. Maybe he goes from corner to running back. Maybe he's the one for the stealth at quarterback. Who knows? He's obviously versatile. That was kind of
Well,
tongue in cheek, but
stranger
um,
stranger things have happened before.
so for number 4, I think it's tough to keep this guy out of the conversation, even though I think statistically you look at it and he kind of really just wasn't there for his team, and it kind of shows that in the stats. So the one thing that does still pop out is that he does have the return numbers and he does have the receiving numbers, right? So when we talk about a running back and what they bring to a team, this guy kind of does it in 3 ways. And even on his team, he shared a backfield with Amari Thomas, a guy that easily made this list last year. I don't think he makes it this year. And Mike Liberties, and the guy that I'm mentioning is number 4 is Quani Morgan. And in his sophomore year, I think people expected more from him, but he's on the league leaders in rushing yardage. Uh, he's he's definitely off the leaderboard, but up there for receiving yards. And I think he's like third or fourth or fifth in return yards for the Silk City Animals. And yeah, I wish we could have seen more of him, because when last year when he had it going on, he reminded me of a Saquon Barkley. He's an explosive player, really tough to tackle his legs. He moves with like an insane urgency, that and a shiftiness mixed with power. Uh oh, I think it'll go away soon.
No, hold on.
Yeah,
Now I'm transitioning from computer to phone, so
there you go.
there you go.
So Quani Morgan, to me, even though he had a disappointing season, I think he's the guy at number 4.
Well, Kwani is still a dynamic threat, however and whenever he touches the ball. Again, I mean, if you want to go see the Forbator, I mean, go back to the playoff game 2 years ago against the BIC when they put up 68, albeit in a losing effort. But I mean, just his versatility on the returns, catching the ball, running the ball. And I think you, with a lot of people, especially those that have watched this league for a long time, you expect Quanny Morgan to have a bounce back year in 2026. Because, I mean, obviously, they're going to have to find somebody to replace the now departed Manny Diaz, who has gone back to the BIC. And certainly David Tender, I'm pretty sure David Tender is recruiting, trying to find somebody to take that spot. And you're pretty sure knowing that he's going to find somebody to take that spot. But again, it certainly pays to have a versatile defender like Quanny Morgan. That's for certain.
Yeah, and to the comment of what we expect from him potentially next year, I'll say this: year to year, A7FL is not as consistent as you're used to in a football league, for instance. Like look at the top sevens in positions year over year. I mean, there's some guys that are going to be consistently at the top, but that's honestly that's more of the exception than the rule. And the thing is that I do want,
Going to
like,
work.
kind of, I would say I want it more selfishly for him to have that bounce back here, just so that we can have the pleasure of watching him play football again. But nothing's set in stone here. I mean, he had a great season last year, and he's obviously capable of doing it. But getting it done on the field consistently in the A7FL requires not only the ability but the will. And I think guys that have been in this league, we mentioned a guy in Courage before. that comes back to this league year after year after year for a decade, we're either talking about, like insane people, right? Maybe I fall under that category. But we're also talking about guys with the incredible will to do this game, through all of the physical, obstacles that are literally week in, week out, either, standing in the way of us being able to perform. Um, Shout outs to Quani Morgan for still being able to be on this list. And I think we do have that expectation, and we're surprised because sometimes those expectations aren't met. But I think it just goes to show you the guys that do consistently make this list, they're really special in a lot of ways.
Agreed.
So now
Um,
now and to kind of carry the show a little bit more, because I know you're kind of transitioning into the car now. So everybody wish Dub a nice quick day at work so he can get back home. Um, the top three, and I'll do it statistically. Um, so maybe people can play the game at home and see where it is. So the top three, I'm just going to go statistically. The number one running back by yards rushing, in 10 games had 64 attempts, 393 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Number two, yardage wise for the running backs, had 59 attempts in 5 games, 381 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Um, that player also had 26 receptions for 292 yards and another 3 touchdowns. And then there's a player, number three, with 7 games, 31 attempts, 380 yards, and 6 touchdowns. I don't have that player's reception numbers. But if I were to tell you those numbers, the guy with 10 games with the most yards by 10, the guy with 5 games that had 381 but had more receiving yards than the other two, or the guy that had in only 6 games basically the same as both of them, but had 6 touchdowns and averaged a touchdown a game. Just based on the blind numbers, who would you lean more towards being the number one? And as I wait for Dub's answer, because he's kind of on mute for a second, I'm really asking the fans. And now I don't see anybody in the comments at the moment, but they all have around 390, 380 in the listed games. But the leading rusher
Okay,
was in
I
the
just
10 games.
realized I was on mute. My
Yeah, my bad.
apologies.
Yeah. So you know the question though, so I don't have to reframe the question. Of
No.
the leading rusher, the second leading rusher, or the third leading rusher. Leading rusher had more games, has the most touchdowns, most yards, but only by a little. Number two, least games in the range for yards, also was the best receiver of these three. And then the other guy only had one more game than number two, so not that many more. Way less attempts, so had a 12-yard per rush average, and 6 touchdowns, so only two less than the guy with 10 games. So where would you rank A, B, and C, or one, two, and three?
Oh, come on.
The ranking or the car?
Trying to connect to my doggone speaker here, and hopefully I think I got it through. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Um, I don't know. You would have to enlighten me on that because I mean that I mean that
Well,
almost
just
sounds like
let's do it this, because not knowing who the player is and just the blind numbers out of context, it's not going to be the list that we go with. But I wanted
uh
to just get the general, just based on purely blind, no name attached to it, like a blind taste test. You know, so pause on, I guess, the taste test. But on a blind numbers ranking, 10 games, 381 yards and 8 touchdowns. 5 games. Excuse me, 396 yards and 8 touchdowns. 5 games, 381 and 200 yards receiving, and a total of 4 touchdowns, or only 380 yards on a 12-yard average with 6 touchdowns.
Sheesh. Um, Goodness gracious. Okay. I know the one that played the full season is definitely not Wilkerson because he didn't play the full season. Um, so I'm gonna X him out as far as the man that played in all 10 games. Um,
You don't have to blindly pick RTC.
no, no, I'm not. No,
I'm
I'm
joking. I'm
doing
joking. I'm joking.
I'm
But
doing process of elimination.
yeah, but what I'm saying is you're trying to figure out who everybody is, and you're correct. 10 games is not RTC.
Well, I would not know who the 10 game person is. I'm pretty sure it's somebody that we wouldn't expect. I'm sure.
Actually, it's somebody that you know very well, and
Oh,
and one
really?
one might say the co-host that we are unfortunately missing today is not really, but a kind of family member of this young man.
Oh,
Yeah. So do you know who that is now?
let's see here. Oh, are we talking Trey Robinson?
Trey Robinson is the 10 game guy, because when you look at the stats in our statistics, BIC had the most games of the week. They have the 10 registered games statistically. So yeah, obviously all of them get a boost. When you look at Sterry and Kason per average, though, they still lapped everybody almost. Um, but that was the main running back for BIC all season. They had
He
guys that
was. Yes.
they got guys that came in there, and he had 8 touchdowns on the season, which is still kind of carrying the load for his team. Now he did in the 10 games have 390 yards. He only led the running backs by, I think it was like 12 or 15, something like that. Um, and he had 5 more games than the second place and 4 more games than the third place.
I think 2025. I don't want to say that Trey Robinson was forgotten, but he kind of reminded people that, hey, I'm still here. I'm still talented. I'm still that guy. And I think in his second year back being on the East Coast, I think he reestablished himself as one of the most versatile players in the league. And of course, I mean, he had some big runs to convert third downs for the BIC against Sick. Um, Found the end zone again against the Insomniacs in the championship game. But I mean, you look at it this way: he's the only guy that has won a championship on both coasts. Came back to the Northeast to win another title. So now I think that gives him what 3 championships now, if I'm not mistaken. So
And and he went from being a role player on the Insomniacs, right? A role
mhm.
player on BIC last year to basically their every down running back.
Yeah,
And he played a lot of defense too. I mean, he
yeah.
went from never meeting BIC except for in KWAC's DMs to being one of the guys that Kenny and Sterry trusted in the most crucial parts of their season to win a championship. So,
He was
I mean,
he was definitely BIC's Swiss Army knife in 2025. And I mean, again, as great as Sterry is, and the magical season that Kason Campbell have, and of course Ashante Worthy is Ashante Worthy, but I mean, just how many plays did Trey Robinson make this past season to keep plays alive for the BIC, or keep drives alive, or get a big crucial score to extend the lead for the BIC? And I really think just his versatility sometimes just goes, I don't want to say unnoticed, but it's like, okay, well, you kind of you kind of find a channel like, oh, wait a minute, oh, that's Trey. And you just applaud him because, again, I mean, I know it was kind of I don't want to say a messy divorce, but it was kind of ugly how it all ended. But at the end of the day, Trey did what he felt was best for him and his family, and God bless him for it. And I mean, I think this was I don't want to say a rebound year, but a year that Trey Robinson once again proved his athletic prowess and his athletic skill, and be like, I am still that guy, and I can still be him when my teammates call upon my number to do whatever it is they want me to do. He definitely was the ultimate selfless teammate this year for the BIC, and one of the main reasons why the BIC, for the third time in the A7 era, hoist the trophy as A7FL champions.
Well, and I think to put it into an even further context, he went from being a star in the early days of the A7 Las Vegas, right? Um, the Nevada division when it first came up was the Force and Trey Robinson making plays for the Pit Bosses. And then the fall, he was really the star of the fall. The Kryptonite when they smoked the Pit Bosses kind of put the Pit Bosses on notice. But Trey Robinson at quarterback was a star
And
in the
people
Nevada division.
and
And what
people forget he
happened?
can throw the ball. Yes.
Well, and what happened was, I think, is that he went from being kind of a star of a team to kind of trying to do the unselfish thing and be part of a team. And with the Insomniacs, in my opinion, although he made it work and the team made it work and Coach James made it work, it wasn't what he really wanted. But then it was weird that he went from the Insomniacs to BIC because it basically felt like a lateral move. But after a full year last year with BIC, kind of learning that role player role, I guess, uh, you know, perspective, it almost like he earned the right to then step in back as a star in that offense and for the team because like I said he also played on defense and was in there pretty consistently when
Yeah.
needed them and
Yeah.
to me that's why I think he'll end up being our cuz why not, it seems it's happening organically, but number 3, which is kind of unfair because he's the leading rusher, had the most touchdowns, but he also had probably among the better offensive lines, and he had the most opportunities of put up statistics. So yeah, man, you had
But
5 more games than number 2 to tack on 16 yards.
but
I'm
he
I, I'm
also
cool with him at 3.
but he also played a bigger part in helping the BIC bring the championship back to the state of New Jersey after a 2.5 year absence.
I'm just comparing him to number 2 and number 1 on this list, the 3 blind guys that I gave you. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So if we're he could be number 2 or number 1, this year. Um, to be honest, and this year's performance last year, I don't think would be any higher than like maybe 6, maybe 5. But for this year, I think he's solidly at number 3, and he could have been higher. And maybe we could do an adjustment like we did with Shepard. But for number 3 on the Vegas pod, we're mentioning Trey Robinson from the Trenton BIC, which is wild.
Well,
So
I mean,
that leaves us 2 left, and I think we can end this show right at an hour since we're pretty much on time for that. And I know you got places to be. So for the last 10 minutes, we got 2 guys, and just as a refresher, one guy with 5 games, one more yard than the other guy, um, 4
the
less
longest
touchdowns rushing,
the
but
longest
also,
yard.
yeah, that was a long yard, but also had. Uh, 250 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. That player, and then the other player played in 6 games, 380 and the 6 touchdowns, but had the 12-yard per carry average. So who do you take as number 2 of those, and then the last guy will be number 1. But again, if
Well,
you
the
don't,
twelve
we could
yard
also switch it. We could also switch it.
well, I mean, it's Wilkerson sounds like he was the guy that averaged 12 yards a carry. That just sounds like him. Because he's always a walking home run hit away from taking one to the house. I mean, like I said, I see him go from the 5 and take one 95 yards. So um, that would be my guess of whose statistics those are. And the other one, like I said, I am as clueless as Alicia Silverstone.
So
So
would you put the guy you're clueless about at number two?
now is that the one that is down by one longest yard?
No, he's actually up a yard, but he played an there's an extra game listed.
Extra game listed. Well, I mean, on these countdowns that we have done, has there been any guy that's ever gone number one back to back consecutive years?
Not yet because I
Not
believe
yet.
I not yet because I believe we've only done it this year and last year.
Okay.
Did we do it the year before? I don't know.
I don't know. We didn't do it in 23. No.
Yeah,
We started doing.
we did Rob and Matt were doing something, but I don't even know if it was ever released to the public. Excuse me. Whoa.
Bless you. Bless you.
I was pressing the mute button. It wasn't getting to it quick enough.
I mean, that happens sometimes when you're trying
All
to
right,
do
all
the
right.
sneeze.
Listen, listen. It's okay if you want to do the number one guy number one because let's be honest, he's probably number one. So is it so? There's a reason why I'm trying to like pigeonhole you into making this decision because I don't want to seem like that I was biased anyway. So do you want to put the mystery running back at number two and then RTC at number one?
Well, I'll say it like this.
If you are correct about the 12 yards to carry, and that is RTC, because maybe it isn't. I haven't confirmed that it is yet.
Now you have to go make me check the doggone stats, if you will. I'm just saying it sounds like him, but I mean, again, I could be
Listen.
totally wrong. I could be
I
totally
would
wrong,
trust yourself. I would trust yourself.
well, I mean, I do try to come, prepared as best I can. But I mean, I'm just saying, it just sounds like Wilkerson averages 12 yards a pop because, like I said, he's always a home run threat away of doing it. And then just the fact of what he did, because I mean, the consensus was that he was not playing in the championship game, given what we had been told and informed, and then for him to be out there and to still run the ball effectively as he did on practically one leg. I mean, not to the point of what he did on the game winning touchdown in 2023 in Bullhead City,
Yeah.
but to still run the ball with the effectiveness and the power that he still had just goes to show you
Yeah.
just how.
He didn't look like he lost a step.
No, I mean,
He didn't look like anything was hurting him, and he made big
no,
plays. You know,
yes. So I mean,
if there's a guy in our league that embodies what it means to be the main running back. Now, again, he does have a rotation that I think works for that team, but
hmm
clearly there's a guy that's the guy.
he's the definition of a bell cow. Um, that is him. You could say that Courage Mosey was the original bell cow of the A7. Of course, recently just hanged up the cleats. But I mean, you talk about right now going into 2026. Wilkerson is definitely that bell cow, who of course shares the same namesake as I. So
Well,
there's
what I would say is that Courage's favorite running back in the A7 right now is Anthony Wilkerson. So I think that being said, um, it's not wrong to say that he should be number one. But I do want to just put you on the spot because you're avoiding my questions like Cash Patel in a Senate hearing. Dub, who do you put number two? Do you put running back mystery running back A or mystery running back B?
I'm going to put A2 and B number one.
And you would be correct in assuming that B was RTC, and he did have quite a bit more touchdowns. And I don't have his reception stats, so I'm pretty sure that they're not as amazing as the other guys because 250 is a lot for a running back. Um, but that being said, number two is Delron Simmons from the Hawks, and
Yes, yes, yes.
the reason why I was forcing you to do it is because if you made the argument that based on the statistics that he had the same amount of rushing yards and he was effective in the receiving game, and you put him at number one, it would have been you that did it and not me. So, but I think that this is fair because, Delron he showed off in the inaugural game of the 2025 season.
Yes, he
Um,
did.
yeah, I'll say this: it was easy for the first time since I had Courage Mosey. It was easy to just turn around and hand that guy off the ball because he took over. And look, it was a nationally televised game. I wanted to do more than run out and get a block on a long run for him. I did throw the two touchdowns, which were, I guess what we needed to win. But it was great to get off the losing streak, and the reason it worked out is because when I was handing the ball off to him, good things were happening, and it was almost hard for me. Usually, it's hard for me to call a play that is a handoff. I prefer to put the ball in my own hands when the running game doesn't work. But every time it kept working, it was almost like, yeah, I gotta give this guy a break, but it's working so well. I almost don't want to call a different run, a different type of play. So, Delron Simmons, he was also a great receiver. When I would flex him out of the backfield, we would do this thing where he would shift, and he clearly to me, if it wasn't Trey Robinson, because I do think Trey Robinson played great this year as well. If it wasn't Trey Robinson that was the runner up to RTC, I think Delron is the guy that put in the work. And if you look at his stats, it's 5 games listed. He did have a game in which I took the stats when we were playing the DC Buzz. Now Cole didn't want to use my stats because there's no film. But when he played the DC, which is fair, when we played the DC Buzz, it was on this sloppy, muddy field. And
Oh, yes.
after
Real
I threw,
football.
well, and after I threw the first two touchdown passes, I just wanted to win the game because we were at that point we were 1-3, or 1-2, and we could get back to 500. And the Buzz aren't the best team, but they're not a team that you could just screw around with. They can hurt you, and they
They
had
have pride.
and they had Mark Diggs at quarterback, so it wasn't like these other times we've seen them play where they don't have a quarterback. They were putting the ball out there. So he had a good 15 carries for 100 yards then, which would have made him far and away the number one rusher. Um, but again, he only had the two touchdowns on the ground. I had as many on the ground, so that's wild. And he only had the two touchdowns receiving, so we just need to get in the end zone more as the Hawks. But number two, Delron Simmons, great rookie season. I think he should be up in the conversation for rookie of the year, but it's a stacked class, so I don't think
Very stacked class.
I don't think he's going to get a mention. So that brings us to number one, Dub. We already talked about him, RTC. And look, we're at 59-25. So let's just do our final thoughts because we don't have to say anything about RTC. RTC, this is your show. This is your award. We're going to name it after you. And now that Courage has retired, you are the guy. So those are my parting shots. Dub, thoughts on your way to work?
Well, first off, he's the first in this second year of his doing the top seven that he's gone back to back number one. He's the first at a at a position. So, but for those of you watching and or listening, um, which position do you want us to cover next? So we will put up a poll on the Other Side of the Ball Facebook page or the Other Side of the Ball Network Facebook page. We will send it to the Nevada jersey page, the players page. We will send it to the Nevada players page, to where we say, please go to the Other Side of the Ball Network page and please vote on the poll of which position you want us to do next week as the top 7 positions of 2025 continues. Certainly to Chris Vera, who's on assignment, definitely miss you, bud. Hopefully we get to see you back here next week to talk some A7 ball with us. Um, Appreciate Ms. Lynn Mel Carey, the hardest working man in sports, leaving us some comments. Appreciate Corey filling in and doing what one Corey Hammond does, and big props to Baby Hammond that joined his face on the show for a little bit before Corey decided to show himself, if you will. But again, did your running back make the list? If you disagree, again, let us know in the chat. Let us know in the comments. Because again, we do this show for y'all and for y'all's entertainment. But yes, we will put up a poll on the Other Side of the Ball Network page for you to vote on which position you want to talk about next week as we continue the top 7 at each position in the A7FL. So with that said, for one Corey Hammond, I'm Double A saying thank you for watching. We'll see you for episode number 153. And hopefully, you fans will vote on which position we get to talk about who will make the top 7 at that position. And with that said, we'll see you on the other side of the ball.